Hey guys, welcome back to the channel where we talk about education, behavior, and boundaries. My name is Matt. I'm a veteran teacher, and today we are going to visit the campus of Abbott Elementary. I got a comment last week saying, hey man, how about you respond to Abbott Elementary? So here we are, we're reacting to it. Now the cool thing is, my wife and I, we love Abbott Elementary. I haven't seen the pilot episode in years, like whenever it came out. And one thing y'all need to know about me, I have a very specific type of amnesia where I just forget a lot about shows. I love movies, I love sitcoms, I love all that stuff. But what's really cool about it, I have a superpower where it's been a long enough time of me seeing a movie or a show and I rewatch it, it's almost like the first time watching it because I forget so many of the fine details. I'll remember a few quotes here and there. I'll remember who the characters are. I'll remember some of the actors' names. But ultimately, as far as like specific plot points within the show, it's hit or miss. So this could be like a first time watching type reaction. So we'll see. But I really like Abbott Elementary. I think it's actually pretty close to the real thing as far as being a teacher. Although with some creative liberties, of course. All right, so let's get into it.
Is incredible. They're all amazing teachers. I really look up to them all.
Please, sit down! Please!
Well, I look up to the older ones. We younger teachers are still getting the hang of it. It's come out alive. And after learning a lot in my first year, I finally feel on top of things. Jamal, what are you doing?
I had to go, and the toilets don't work.
And the rug was plan B.
Thankfully, not often do the teachers have to clean up those kinds of messes, but it does happen. Now, let's talk about the first year bliss. First of all, the first year of teaching is hard. You're learning a lot of things. You're learning a lot of faces. You are sort of the freshman on campus, especially if you're starting at a new school, fresh out of student teaching. You're learning these kids. You're also learning the staff and learning how to relate with the colleagues a little bit. And there's this feeling of, all right, the first year was pretty rough, but I feel like I learned a lot. And then you're learning every year. I've said it before, and I've heard it from mentors before me. Every year is your first year teaching. You have to look at every year as your first year teaching because you're going to have different classrooms. You're going to have different students. You're going to have different parents. All have different personalities and all learn in different ways and at different paces. So understanding that and understanding that you have no idea what teaching is going to look like. No one that taught before 2020 saw a year like 2020. No one who taught before 2021 saw a year like 2021. So you just have no idea teaching, and I'm sure it's true with other jobs. I know it's true with other jobs, but with teaching specifically when you're dealing with all these little tiny humans that are just trying to figure out how to human and interact in the real world, man, it is something. So my advice to Miss Janine or Miss Teagues right here is whenever you think you're on top of stuff, it just means you're forgetting about something. I told one of my admin, I was like, hey man, I feel like I'm finally ahead, which means I'm totally forgetting something off my to-do list, but that will make itself known soon enough, right? So
Janine, why are you putting that rug away?
Erica, I told you to call me Miss Teagues. I'm an adult, though we are almost the same height.
boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. Make them clear. I'm not your friend. Do not call me by my first name. Miss Teagues, Miss Teagues. Even if the kids constantly do it, you have to keep that expectation clear. And the best thing to do, they're doing it for attention. So my advice to teachers who just have kids that are trying to be cute and call them by their first names, give it a soft redirect. Don't make a big deal about it. They're trying to push your buttons a little bit. They're trying to connect with you. But on the offset, obviously redirect it. Hey, for me, hey, Mr. Gomez. But also make sure that you follow that up whenever they do call you by your right name. You interact with them so much. Like, hey, first of all, thank you for calling me out. What do you need? All right, what do you need help with? Be immediate. Be super positive. So that way they pair, hey, when I call them by the proper name that they've asked me to call them, good things happen. It's just called a differential reinforcement, which is you're reinforcing different behavior and the desired behavior.
Janine, turn that down, please. I'm trying to teach my kindergartners the letter C, and they are distracted by this song.
Another thing we have to consider with our classroom management, even though we might be able to operate in chaos, we're also in a hallway with other teachers and other students who may not be able to operate in chaos. And in this case, Barbara has younger kids who are not able to focus and drown out noise. That's why classroom management kind of feels like a pressure on teachers, because I'm not only disturbing other students, I'm also disturbing my colleagues. And there is this pressure of I kind of look bad. And that's why we need to be sure with every redirect, with every system that we put in place as teachers, that we are serving the kids and not our egos, because it's very easy, especially in things like this. There's this pressure in every teacher's mind. I don't want to look bad in front of my colleagues. But the best thing to do is turn that off. Know it's there. That's a thing. Know that's a layer of what you need to do. But ultimately, how can we serve these kids to have a more conducive learning environment and actually get things done?
Possible to...
Janine, Miss Schwartz just kicked Rajon, and everyone's in the hallway going crazy.
Wait, what?
All right, calm down, calm down.
What happened? He hit me first. Liar! I'm the liar. I'm the liar.
I wonder if she tried counting.
No, man. I do remember, I think Janine mentioned something about, count backwards, Oh, no. I've seen teachers do this. All right. Y'all got to the count of 5 to sit in your seats. 5, 4, 3. They do this counting, but what's the consequence? And again, I'm going to talk about this moment right here, I promise. But instead of counting like, y'all got till 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Counting has its place. I think counting actually helps build urgency. All right, guys, we're going to put these papers in your backpacks and we're going to get out your notebook. You got 10 seconds. 9, 8. That would be a good use of counting because we're transitioning. There's some urgency there. We're getting going. But when it comes to behavior, especially disruptive behavior, especially when kids are getting what they want, and most of the time it's either one of two things, and it's escape or attention. I want to get out of this thing, or I want you to look at me. Sometimes a combination of the two. And counting doesn't really help that because it just kind of means, well, what are you going to do? And not even in a disrespectful way, but just genuinely what's going to happen if you get to the number that you're counting to, and then I don't. So the kids want to test the limits, not to be disrespectful, but they just want to know what happens. They're curious, they're trying to learn things, so they just want to know what happens. This particular situation. So a replacement, if you have disruptive behaviors and you're trying to do the counting thing, my advice, I always go for private redirects. You will not go wrong with private redirects. Private redirects. And that helps build a relationship with the kids. It lets them know, I'm not trying to embarrass you in front of your peers. I just want to see what's going on because I want to serve you too. I want you to be the best that you can be in all those different things. Now, this situation specifically, don't kick kids. I don't know what to tell you. Don't kick kids. If you feel tempted to kick a kid, if you feel tempted to throw anything at a kid, you feel tempted to put your hands on a kid, don't.
Stop it. Get some help.
Don't do it. And this is best axioms I've heard in my career about classroom management. And this is what it is. Classroom management is not managing the 30 kids in the room. It's about managing the one adult in the room. You have got to understand what your emotions are, be able to label those emotions. I'm frustrated because of this. And a lot of times when we're in the red like that, when we're in our heads like, I'm just so overstimulated, I'm struggling here, what is my next step? They're not being quiet, it's loud, everything's moving, it's chaos in here. You get overstimulated and it's hard to really identify what is going on. Why are you overstimulated? Why are you so mad? Why are you so frustrated right now? What is the specific thing that you don't feel like you have control over? What I find works for me is deep controlled breaths. I do square breathing where I breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, and then breathe out for 4 seconds. This causes you to count, which counting is actually a really good self-regulation tool because it said that you can't think logically and emotionally at the same time, which is why some people, when they're angry, they'll count backwards because it's really difficult to think logically and emotionally at the same time. Get your stuff in order. Take a deep breath, and I've done this before. I've seen coworkers do this before. Well, they will literally step away, get into a corner, and just close their eyes and take deep breaths, then address the class. warm and demanding for sure, but they'll address the class and say, hey, we got to fix this. We can do better than this, and then reset the expectation. There is a professionalism. You took this job as someone who would be able to, I don't even want to say handle this, but handle your emotions. As a professional level, we have to have this persona and this mask on that is unwavering so that the kids know what to expect. And another way that this teacher could have done it, like, hey, just say the thing. Just want to let you know, you assaulted a teacher. That's a pretty serious offense. Let's take it to the principal. And if she's like, well, I'm going to go with you, I was like, you don't have to. There's other teachers that can take you. I actually need a minute because I'm frustrated that you kicked me. And that's where you lean on your team. Because teaching, in whatever capacity that you do teaching and education, it's a team sport. It takes a village. Literally takes a village.
Look, I know we don't have any money.
Okay, all right. I'll make a small emergency budget request to the district, and you guys can get pencils and hire aides or whatever else you need.
So even rugs?
Sure. Just email a request. You're the sub. Forgive me. I thought one of my colleagues here hired a stripper for me.
Okay.
Inappropriate. Do not call people strippers. It's, no.
Did the job. Good morning.
Morning.
Gregory. The district was so moved by my plea that they approved the emergency budget and sent us the money right away. Fix the outside. Inside takes care of itself. Y'all seeing it? Thank God for the school district, because they gave us $3,000 and I had to spend all of it.
You spent all of the money on this?
Rush job. Can you believe it's quality?
How's that optimism taste?
I'm gonna say, man, Barbara in this episode, it's kind of sad because I get where she's coming from. She wants to kind of get Janine on this level of, look, you have to set your expectations low, because if you have them high, you're gonna get disappointed over and over and over again, and that's gonna lead to burnout pretty quickly for you. So I see what she's doing, and whether I agree with it or not, I kind of agree with it, kind of don't. It just depends, especially if Barbara's taking on this mentor relationship with Janine. On the other end of it, you want to say, I see what you want to do. In my experience, doing it this avenue does not work, but this is what I've done to kind of cope with that. Giving strategies to those things. The rubbing it in, like, how's that taste? That's pretty rough. Oh, misspending in districts. I'm going to be quite honest. In my experience, I've never seen this from principals. I've never seen it from the super local area of schools. And if you have, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Any educators or any job, if you've seen wasteful spending, but it's never come directly from the principal or assistant principals or counselors. I don't see that there. Every penny that is spent on the local level, as far as like the locality of the school, it's actually pretty fair. Like I would agree with it because it's a need for the school. I have seen wasteful spending at district levels though, where districts will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on things that aren't really necessary, and could be considered waste. There's a lot of wasteful spending that happens in education. Every dollar spent on education is a dollar well spent. I get it, but it's just not true because there's wasted dollars, and there's so many things that we can put the word education on and say, yeah, look, education, and it's a slippery slope. So everything that we spend money on needs to be intentional. Buying a sign for the front of the school, not the most intentional thing.
I emailed the superintendent and told him everything that Ava has done today. No way she doesn't get fired.
Oh, for the love of God.
What?
The superintendent...
Don't look to get people fired. If you look to get people fired from emails and things like that, you're going to be disappointed every time. It's a long process. Just don't go after people's jobs like that, but figure out how to work with them in that way. I get what you're saying because it's like we can get a better principal, but that principal is going to bring in their own issues and problems too, probably. Like, you may not like their leadership style, so it's best to not try to go over their head to get them to get the boot,
Never sees our emails. He has them bounced back to the person in charge of where they came from.
Wait, I'm sorry. Person in charge? That means the emails go back to...
Teachers, it's come to my attention that some of you, one of you, think it's okay to go over my head.
Why are we here exactly?
Well, Chocolate Drop, I learned...
Okay, so whenever you write an email, it's true in teaching, and I'm sure it's true everywhere else. Write an email like it's going to be read by everybody. In fact, one of my coworkers told me this year and last year, just as I'm trying to navigate different things with special education, because there's a lot of documentation, a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross. She always tells me, write your emails as if they're going to be read in court one day. That helps me a lot with writing emails, because it helps me to stay objective. It helps me to keep my emotions out of my emails, out of my text messages, out of my phone calls, in the mindset everything I do is being recorded and could be read in court one day. So let me just give the facts. And facts don't hurt our feelings, and facts don't help our feelings. It's the stories we put around the facts that do that. So anytime we send an email, just assume it's going to be read by your principal, APs, counselors. Just assume that people are going to be sharing your email around. Does it happen often? Not in my experience, no, honestly. It's just a good rule of thumb. It helps you write better emails. And we also have AI for that too. It's really, really cool.
Let's try an exercise where we say whatever we want out loud to each other, no matter how critical. It'll be fun. Let's start with Janine.
This is a terrible exercise. Terrible exercise. Terrible exercise. Nothing productive. Okay.
Teachers at a school like Abbott, we have to be able to do it all. We are admin, we are social workers, we are therapists, we are second parents. Hell, sometimes we're even first. Why? It's showing the money.
All right, step 3, you flush the toilet to empty the tank. Now you're all set to go. Now remember, you gotta read.
Hot take. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. It's not a teacher's job. It's not my job as a teacher to step in as a second parent or a first parent or a therapist or a counselor. I need to know my scope of practice. Teachers that adopt this philosophy, it's a dangerous philosophy, man. It's such a dangerous philosophy because it'll burn you out. That's a job. At the end of the day, it's a job. And we are human beings. For me, I'm a husband. I have a daughter on the way, and I'm going to be a father. I'm super excited about that. In that, I need to be those things so that I can be a better teacher. But therapist, I'm not a therapist. Parent, I'm not a parent to these kids, and I don't need to be. Whenever a child is going through a hard time, am I going to be there for them? Absolutely. Along with a team of teachers that truly cares about this child just like I do. I am not the only hero. I'm not the only adult in their life. I am not the only voice of influence in their life. I am a voice of influence, but I'm not the voice of influence in their lives at that moment. I'm one of. And we need to remind our students of that. Like, you don't just have me, you have a team. Well, yeah, Miss So-and-so, she's so mean. No, she's not. She's being kind to you. She's telling you hard truths. I've had to say that about some teachers that may or may not have said emotional things, but at the end of the day, their heart is in the right place. They want the best for these kids. Are there exceptions? Of course, but they are exceptions. But the rule is the people I've worked with are incredible. They care for these kids and they break their backs. They go above and beyond, literally above and beyond. I work with special education. And yeah, in their paperwork, they get certain accommodations and supports that they are legally required to do. And those teachers look at those supports and accommodations, and they still do more. They outdo the IEP every single time, in my experience. Very seldom have I had meetings where they're not meeting the needs of the IEP. I've had to have meetings where I'm like, hey, you don't have to do this. I feel like you're breaking your back to do this. It's not in their IEP, and we can't accommodate the choice to disengage from the task. We can't accommodate for that. If they decide I'm not going to do the work, there's no accommodation that's going to make them do the work. We can scaffold it, we can chunk it, we can modify it if we have to go from 6th grade to 5th grade or 4th grade complexity. We can do all those things. But if the child decides I'm not going to do work today, we can't. There's nothing we can do to accommodate those things. So are we the therapist? It sounds good, guys. It really does. It sounds great. But no, and they said it here, we don't get paid to do that. But this is why teaching is a team sport. We support each other. And there's some things she said. Sometimes you got to step up in admin. In fact, I like this thing at the end where we see her like plunging. Leave a room better than you found it. If I see trash on the floor, I could pass it and that would be fine. I could also pick it up and that would just be better. This toilet needed to be unstopped and she unstopped it. She's like, I know how to use a plunger. I don't call IT every time I have an issue with my computer. I try to fix it myself because IT's usually backed up. It might take them a while to get to my room. Let me just see if I can fix it myself. Sometimes I ask the kids to help me. It becomes a little project. We build some rapport. It's a good time. But you're a teacher. If you're hired to be a teacher, be a teacher. Keep those boundaries clear. And don't feel like you have to do it all because you don't. You don't. You have a team. You're part of a team. You came on to part of a team. If you have differences, work them out. If you can't work out the differences, you're usually contracted for a year. So find another job. And everybody's like, but my kids. There are other kids who need you. And there are seasons where you need to serve certain kids at a certain time in a certain place. And if you're so uncomfortable in this place that you can't do your job effectively, you're not doing a favor to these kids or to yourself or to the campus. And you would better serve in another culture. And that's fine. And there can be personality differences and all those different things. But yeah, ultimately, you're a teacher. And when your contract hours are up, go home. Go home to your family. Go home to your pets. Go home to your plants. Whatever you go home to, go home. Hang out with some friends. Have a life outside of school. And that's okay. And then leave it on the field and then come back tomorrow. Refreshed. Because when you do those things and you have those solid boundaries and when you take care of things at home and your mental health and all those things, self-care is not selfish. Self-care allows you to do the things you need to do in order to show up the next morning in the best way that you can for the kids that you serve. That was my reaction to Abbott Elementary. Thank you so much for staying through the entirety of the video. If you like this video, go ahead and click that like button and comment. And if you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and click the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you will not miss any new uploads. It really helps the channel, guys. And thank y'all so much for the support. Thank you for supporting this channel and look forward to seeing y'all soon. Thank y'all again. God bless.